Thank you for listening to Pal Block Podcast, the flagship Nintendo podcast of Boss Rush Network. Do you need even more gaming and entertainment in your life? Head over to bossrush.net where you can find news, reviews, creators, podcasts, and more focused around the content you enjoy.
Hello everybody, welcome to Nintendo Expansion Pass here on Boss Rush Network. I'm your host, still like to the side of Eddie V. Joining me is the boss man himself, Mr. Corey Derrick.
Hello, my Nintendo 64 controllers were delayed in shipping.
Oh no!
Yeah, due to high demand of the product. I wonder if they don't have enough. I wonder if people were ordering them too fast and they just didn't have enough to fulfill orders, and this is their way to buy time.
For them to do a quick restock.
Well, they did restock them today, and everybody was scrambling. I sent everybody the link, and nobody got them. I'm sorry, I tried everybody. You did. I went to buy one more to put back for people if they needed one.
Yeah.
And apparently you can only buy 2 per account.
Oh wow!
Because I tried to put one on my cart. It said you have exceeded your limit on this account, and I've only purchased 2. So, what is that? Hold on, you can't just crack something open and not tell me what it is.
It is the G Fuel. Sorry about that. It's the G Fuel Tetris Blast. This is the drink that Jacob drinks. It's the Performance Energy Zero Sugar Extreme Focus.
Okay. If you say so, I guess. Extreme Focus.
We had some Patreon shout outs to do.
Yeah, let's just way to change the subject there, Ed.
Everybody, this is going to be kind of a laid-back episode for Nintendo Expansion Pass.
No, it's not. You say that, but it's not. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get wild. Might not be as long as the rest of them, but sure is wild.
Well, you actually will be shocked. So,
anyways, you can support all of our content over at Patreon, patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. You can get this show and the Boss Rush podcast 1 week early, or standard definition and After Dark 2 weeks early for just $1. But if you subscribe at the $5 tier, you become a Patreon producer. What does that mean, Ed? Well, let me tell you. You get your name shouted out on this here podcast, as well as the rest of our content. So, our Patreon producers for this episode of Expansion Pass are Quentin Jackson, Rebecca Jewell, Adriel Munger, and my wife, Sana Dierig. I want to thank our Patreon producers. I want to thank all of our patrons, and I also want to thank everybody who just listens to this on free feeds. Remember, if you're listening on free feeds, like iTunes or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review for Nintendo Pal Block. We'd really appreciate it. Please. Thanks. Back to you, Ed.
Yes. So...
We really don't have a plan for this episode. We just kind of got on and just started talking. First of all, Ed watched me eat a cookie while my son cried for a little bit, and then he thought it was hysterical, I guess. So.
No, it was the fact that you just looked at me for one part, and then you just put the cookie in your mouth. I'm like, this is so much for comedic effect, and then we just ended up laughing together.
Look, man, we record this episode right after I record Tower Casuals, and it was a long episode, and it's almost 11:30 at night, and I'm just kind of, when you get so tired that you're just not tired?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. That's just my life now. Extreme exhaustion to the point where I've circled past exhaustion and back into it's okay, it's fine.
Yes. Well, that's why I say it's gonna kind of be like laid-back episode. There's not really much news, definitely from Nintendo wise. You know, there are just things that are getting planned. And by the time you guys hear this, we'll be about, I believe, 5 episodes away from episode 300 of Nintendo Pop Block. And we kind of have a special Nintendo expansion pass that me and Corey are going to be doing. So we're going to give you a little preview of, or just kind of a heads up. So Corey came up with this really cool idea, and I've never thought about it. And people who have listened to us over the years on Nintendo Pop Block know that me and Corey love to come up with lists. So we are doing our top 30 Nintendo lists. And that's from all consoles, handhelds, anything first party related with Nintendo. We are going to be doing 30 games each. So kind of pretty much 60 or less, because we'll probably believe we'll have some of the same games on there and just have different places where they're ranked.
Yeah. I think it would be cool to get everybody to do a list and do the top 300 Nintendo games for episode 300. But that would require a lot of people to make lists, and we might not end up with 300 games. 'Cause I think I'm pretty sure everybody would put every Zelda game and every Mario game on their list. So I'd be like, oh, we gotta figure this out. But that would be a cool idea. Maybe we'll bring it up at the meeting tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if we've never did, like, as a community, just like for Boss Rush, like our top 10 games, just regardless if they're all the same or anything. I'm very interested in learning what people taste in games by their list, by their top 10.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe we'll do like a top list or something for what do you call it? Maybe we'll do a top list for Boss Rush when we hit 150, because that's coming up soon.
Oh, okay. I'll be down for that.
Maybe.
If I'm off.
We'll see.
Or...
We'll see how it goes. But I kind of think maybe we can do that.
Yes. So, but I think one of the things about having your personal list or writing one out, it's just that you get to, it becomes good, like, resource for recommendations. So, like, if you see a certain game on a lot of people's lists, it might intrigue people to go and play it and everything. And definitely, like, for me, for all the years that I've been playing Nintendo, you know, I have some ups and I have some downs. So doing this top 30 list, it's going to be, like, difficult. I've been rambling in my head to be like, what is number one and where do I start out at? Because I think 30 games, where you place them doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It's just like, this is where, you know, I probably have this kind of enjoyment with this game a little bit while I haven't this enjoyment, but it's just placing it's just like, man, going up to the top and everything. It's gonna probably be something like very different, because how do you introduce, like, just a list of 30 games? Like, where do you start? Do you start with, like, Super Mario Brothers on the NES?
I mean, I don't know if Mario 1 would be on my top 30 list. I mean, I could think of like 5 Mario games better than that off the top of my head right now, but
oh yeah,
I'm doing it as like my favorite Nintendo games. I'm not doing it as like, and I'm not saying Nintendo game. I'm saying like games that appeared on Nintendo consoles, right? Because like,
yes,
I played like 70 hours of Assassin's Creed 4 on my Wii U. Okay, I'm not like that's going on my list. You know, and there's going to be games on there that people are going to be mad, but like, I can tell you that there's only probably going to be 1 or 2 Super Nintendo games on my list, and they're not what you expect.
Well, Turtles 4 is
Well,
like wonderful.
well, yeah, but I'm saying like people are going to expect like a Link to the Past or Super Metroid, and I can't put those on my list because I've never physically played them. I mean, we played them together, but I've
Yeah,
never like, you know, played
sat
them.
down
So
and and experienced them for yourself.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
And a lot of mine are going to be post. A lot of my favorite games are going to be post Nintendo 64. You know, like
mhm.
I mean, I already know what my number one game is, but I'm not going to tell you.
I think it's because you have more time with like the Nintendo 64 and up with their systems than you did with their past systems.
Well, I mean, I spent a lot of time with the NES, but it was only like I was little, so like I didn't know that like I got what I got. I didn't like I wasn't reading Nintendo Power and expecting to play
Mhm.
Zelda 2 or whatever. I didn't
Yeah.
play those games till later, and I just had this conversation with Laurent the other day where like yeah, I have a really hard time getting into 2D Zelda games. Like, it doesn't matter how great they were, or
Mhm.
because like the only 2D Zelda game I've ever played and beaten was Link's Awakening. I've hardly played the Oracle games. I've hardly played Minish Cap. I've hardly played, the DS games. I've played every one for like a little bit, but like I've never like
Completed
it's
them.
just hard for me to get into the 2D games, and it's just hard for me to get into 2D games in general now. Like I'm just I don't know. It's a weird kind of situation. Although I have to say, like my favorite Mario games are the 2D games, so it's I guess it's a case by case basis, but
Well, I think that's why I say that you probably haven't had that a lot of familiarity with past Nintendo games.
mm-hmm,
That's why I said from N64 and up. Where like me, I appreciate. Of course, I played the 2D games in 3D and now 3D. Like I appreciate every perspective. Like for me, I had an actual hard time getting to first person
mm-hmm,
games, and not just like Metroid Prime or anything, but like first person shooters did nothing for me.
uh-huh,
There was just something that I couldn't get into, and it literally took Medal of Honor Frontline on GameCube to make it click.
mm-hmm,
And then I was playing like I didn't even play really commit to GoldenEye 64 or
uh-huh.
anything because it was like something that I just didn't lean towards to, and not like I had not a disdain, but I didn't have a care for Halo when it first came out
Mm-hmm.
because it was just something that I'm like, okay, this is a first person shooter, and it did nothing for me. I mean, I got it for my Xbox and everything, and even on PlayStation, like it took a while for me to even get into some of the first person shooters on PlayStation. It's just like that style of gameplay did nothing for me until Medal of Honor Frontline came, and then I believe when games started getting like when controllers start having the analog, control like for the camera and everything, like the two sticks. That's why I think I started getting into
Mm-hmm.
um first person shooters because like playing Black on PS2. Um yeah, I played Black on PS2, and it's just like, okay, I get what this game is. Don't like the way that it ended and it left us on a cliffhanger. But then I'm just like, shoot, started playing Resistance and Homefront on PS3, and I'm just like, now I get this. Definitely Metroid Prime on GameCube, which was a different kind of perspective, a gameplay. And design, but it was just like, okay, now I get what they're going for. Now I can enjoy what this gameplay series is. So I can understand why you don't dig 2D games.
I think for me, I was just at that right age where like, I when I was 10 when the Nintendo 64 came out. I was 10 when I saw Toy Story for the first time. Like
Hmm.
all these emerging kind of technologies were hitting right at the age where I was starting to pay attention and really like getting into this stuff, right? And
Yes.
like I always point to Mario 64 as the point where I knew that I was going to love video games forever, right? Like, don't get me wrong, like I loved playing Turtles on the Genesis and Mario 2 and these other games, but like to me it was like it wasn't I was playing a video game, it was I was playing Ninja Turtles, right?
Yes.
And when like the 64 was when the switch flipped, right? Where I was like, oh, video games are something that are going to be in my life for a long time, if not forever, you know? And so I don't know. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think experiencing franchises like Zelda and Metroid and you know, a lot of these other popular franchises that we love today, my first experiences with them, my first real experiences with them were the 3D games. And so I think there's a lot to that too, where it's hard to go backwards. For me, it's just always hard to go backwards. I don't know why. It's not like it's hard to do. It's easier than ever now, actually, with Switch Online and you know, obviously the only console that's stuck now is the GameCube, which I think we're going to get that at some point.
I think it's the investment of technology in games itself, you know, and I think that's where the difference where me and you stand, because as a kid I grew up with a lot of these older games,
right?
And
but you're also older than me.
Well, yeah,
and like, you know, I think your experience, like what games were out when you were hitting that age where like, oh man, video games are going to be here for the rest of my life. Like that was a different generation than when I did, right?
Yeah, because it was 1990 when we're going at 10 years of age. 1990 was my age, and
right. So you had been hitting what, Genesis and Super Nintendo at that age, right? I mean, Super Nintendo was coming out the next year.
Yeah.
Arcades were still huge, right? So
yep. And since my brother got the Sega Genesis, that's when I started getting, noticing 16-bit. But I think it was just like, definitely for me, for not having like a lot of friends or anything, and just kind of being stuck in the house because I had no one to play with, video games was the friend. And I think I put so much investment into it. Like my mom knew that if we went to a mall, if she gave me $1, I was at Atlantic Castle with 4 tokens, and Atlantic Castle was the GPS was the meter spot. So, and she knew that I would not leave that arcade, because sometimes people would just walk away from games, and I would go and snag and play and get as far as I can, because I think, I feel like I was skillful and master at games. Like stuff for video games just clicked for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't know. It's like I remember sitting behind my parents' couch because they had a little TV set up behind the couch for me to play video games, so it wasn't on the main TV.
Yes,
but like it wasn't that I was. I remember the first Nintendo Power issue I got. It was the Donkey Kong Country 3 issue. And then it went like Donkey Kong Country 3, I want to say Turok, and then a Mario 64 cover was like bam, bam, bam. And I was like, and that's when I was like, okay, well, because like I went over to my friend's house to play Super Nintendo, and he subscribed to Nintendo Power, and I think my mom probably decided to subscribe to it for me because I was starting to get into it. And I remember that Christmas was like a big debate, was like, do I get a Super Nintendo because all these games are already out and I haven't played them, or do I ask for a Nintendo 64 because it's the next big thing, and it was the first time I was actually paying attention to the next big thing. And obviously, you know, I got one that Christmas from my grandma. That I've told that story 100 times on the show, but yeah, I think there's a fascination with the 3D aspect, and just really kind of building a collection for the first time and paying attention to the games that were coming out and my first experiences with these major franchises and not so major ones, right? And yeah, I don't know.
It was like Super Mario 64, because you mentioned that game. Like, I kind of just to see how smooth it was as a 3D game. You know, that because I had played PlayStation 1 and I had, you know, played a lot of their 3D games, and they were enjoyable for what they were at that time.
Right, but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like,
no, go ahead.
I thought about PlayStation because my one friend had a PlayStation at the time, and I just remember it looking like really ugly and pixelated, and the polygons didn't line up correctly because you could see like where the polygons were connecting because the textures were weird, right? The PlayStation, it has a really weird aesthetic, and only a few games really could hide that, right? Like Tomb Raider was super influential in a lot of ways, but that game is ugly. Like, even then it was ugly. You knew it was ugly. Whereas like games like I want to say like Crash Bandicoot could hide it pretty well. You know, some of these other PlayStation games. Shoot, what was the one I was just thinking of? But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like these games, they like a lot of the 3D games were super ugly, and you get to Super Mario 64. Yeah, a lot of the polygons don't really have textures on them, or if they do, they're really light textured. But like, I think that worked. And it's the Nintendo thing where like they know how to use the art style and the technology to their advantage, right? You look at Super Mario 64, that's super basic. Like the textures and stuff are super basic.
But at the time when it was released, it was you just like, wow.
Well, I mean, like you look at the PlayStation and they try to do all these things with between like pixels and the polygons, and they tried to texture the polygons with pixels, and some of it looked interesting enough, but a lot of it just didn't. And you look at Mario 64, there is no pixel work, right? It's all polygons. Every single thing in that game is a polygon. It's you know, the Koopa shells are just polygons with green shading on them. Like that's it. There's no pixels to try to get you to see, oh, well, this is a textured rock wall, or, you know, this ground is gravel or sand or whatever, right? Like in Tomb Raider, it's Mario 64 did something kind of simple and it really worked. And I mean, that's been Nintendo's MO for a long time, but they pulled off Mario 64 in a way that I think you know, you look at it now, it's like obviously it just Mario looks so much better now, obviously, but like I don't know. There's just something about that game and the controller, and I mean, let's be honest, that controller was built for Mario 64. You know, like it just was. So,
but I think, like, because it's having a brother in this household that took care of the Sega stuff was really helpful to me. Trust me. But I kind of feel like when it got to the N64, and yes, I had a Nintendo 64 and a PlayStation. I think that's when I started enjoying owning multi consoles, because I did have during the 16-bit era. You know, I had my Super Nintendo, but I also had a TurboGrafx 16, and I was enjoying the TurboGrafx also. But I wasn't enjoying it like I was during like the N64 days, because definitely playing the wrestling games from THQ, like No Mercy and stuff like that was enjoyable. Playing Mario Kart with my friends, taking my N64 over to some of my friends' house and we were playing games. It was just so cool to do that and everything. And then like when Nintendo really started going like 3D, definitely with GameCube, I think that's when I started realizing that, man, I never thought, or I would, ask what would happen if Nintendo really went into full 3D, like with pixels, polygons, clean graphics, um, the like how would they go about their design and everything? And I think with GameCube, that just really made me love Nintendo more in their games, you know. And even with what we got with Switch now, it's just like I feel like they still got that magic touch,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. I mean,
And
they
okay,
do. I mean, they just do. You know.
right. So I think just making that list definitely for me is a struggle because of my experience with Nintendo. Just like, man, like if I'm gonna add third party games, it's gonna be hard because like, do I split it 15-15, or do like how do I split that up? Because as much as I enjoyed the first party games from Nintendo, I enjoyed a lot of the third party also from everybody.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
I have an idea about my list, but um, I don't know. We'll see. I have a pretty decent idea of what I'm gonna do with mine. I already kind of know what my top five are. It's really the rest of the list that's kind of could go any way any day.
hmm
So
yeah, and I think I'm probably going to like have honorable mentions that I'll probably talk before we actually do that recording, like maybe 299 do honorable mentions, and then that, well, not 299 for not the podcast for Pop Block, but for a special patch, I should say, before we get to 300.
hmm
I think I'll probably talk about like my honorable mentions. Like, I think I'm gonna keep Ninja Gaiden for the NES off my list. Excuse me. And the reason why is because I think that did something, you know, definitely in for cinematic gameplay. It didn't put in those cutscenes stuff in to connect the story and progress the levels. But I've mentioned Ninja Gaiden so many times, and it's been on so many lists that I'm just like, I wanted to try to do something different. What I enjoyed from, like, maybe from Tecmo or something like that, because there, I know we had a, I know not me and you had a discussion, Corey, but there was a discussion of someone saying which was better, Ninja Gaiden 1 or 2, and to me 2 is better, but I think 1 has the better soundtrack
hmm
and like cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you can't beat that intro with the two ninjas running and them jumping up in the air and like swing and stuff. Like, I think Ninja Gaiden has provided so many memories and first stuff that you couldn't believe that was being done on the NES.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
I've only played the second one, so I don't really know. I remember the second one. You could get those shadow guys to follow you around. I thought
Yeah.
that was like a really cool idea.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's gonna be. I feel like my list is gonna fill up quickly, and then like I'm gonna have too many games, and I'm gonna have to make some hard cuts at the end.
hmm
I really have a lot of thoughts on games on this list. So
Well, what system you think will have the lowest, like, of games
the
on your
lowest,
list?
oh, Super Nintendo for me by far, and I think it's just because I don't have a lot of experience with the Super Nintendo. You know,
Okay.
um, I mean, I did after the fact, but like to me, I just think like the N64 and GameCube games are more what I'm into. And obviously well, I mean, the Wii is kind of a close second, maybe. I always forget that the Wii exists. So, I don't know. I think the Wii U might have a lot on there. Also, I've been thinking about, because a lot of the Wii U games have made their way over to Switch.
Yeah.
Do we do first appearance or do we do native, like what console we played it on?
Whatever you want to.
I actually think the Wii U might have the most.
And I know Wii U and GameCube might be equal for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a real toss up between the Wii U and the GameCube, and then like the N64 will probably roll up third. Although the Game Boy might have a few. Game Boy Advance. I don't know. Actually, you know what system might have the least amount for me might be the DS.
Well, I know Virtual Boy would have for me because like I never played the system. So
man, Mario Tennis, Wario World, and
I'm shocked that you said the DS.
Yeah, I didn't play a lot of DS, man. You know what I played a lot on the DS? My Game Boy Advance games.
I remember getting the DS and the Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow was that one?
It was Dawn of Sorrow, Order of Ecclesia. Was that the third one? Right?
I think so.
And then there was a third one. Man, remember when Konami was just releasing Castlevania games left and right? And then it was stopped for some reason.
It was Castlevania on DS, Metal Gear on PlayStation.
Well, I mean, it was a continuation of the Game Boy Advance games, though, right? Because you had the three Game Boy Advance games, pop, 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 and then the DS, you had 3 in a row, and then it just stopped.
Yeah, I remember drawing for the spells of Castlevania, and I was just like, oh my god, like it clicked, and I was so excited getting the DS.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking like there's not going to be a lot of handheld games on my list.
The same.
I don't know. Like, I know the Switch is a different beast, and I play a lot of it in handheld mode, but it's still a home console to me, and I play it on the TV whenever I can, because I still prefer docked mode over handheld. Handheld is just a nice convenience, and so I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of DS or 3DS games on my list either.
Well, I know, like, definitely for me, Pokemon Blue is going to be on there. Well, no, not well. Pokemon will be on there, but I think it's going to be Gold for me. I think Pokemon Gold definitely. It's such a high bar for Pokemon game that I'm just like I just got to put it on how much time that I invested in that game.
Yeah, I think Pokemon Blue is definitely going to be on there for me. I remember when I finally got all. I mean, I got a second Game Boy and Pokemon Red just to do it, because I didn't have any friends. So, it's man, I don't know. There's so many great games that like cutting it down to 30 is like almost impossible. I do think it would be a cool idea to get everybody involved, though, to do a 300 list.
Yeah,
but I really don't. That would be such a tall task.
I think people will be able to do it. Like, and even if they haven't played a Nintendo game, but they played that, like, maybe they do a third party game that did come on a Nintendo platform, but they just probably they experienced it somewhere else. I think that would be good. I think that would be cool, or something.
What franchise do you think is gonna be the most on your list?
Oh man, what franchise?
Yeah.
I really think it's I really think it's going to be a toss up between The Legend of Zelda and Mario. And not just, I'm not knocking Metroid or anything like that, because I pretty much beat it maybe 90% of the Metroid series.
Mhm.
And um I think a lot of those games are just going to be so expected on my list. But like Mario and Zelda, they have such a long history of games that when they came out, I just ended up buying them.
Yeah.
And most of them, I end up being them. I think people could guess which one is definitely going to be on the list. If I only had to choose one Mario game right now, everybody would know what that one would be. But I'm like, I was. It's weird that you asked that question, because it's just like, man, Six Golden Coins is such a great game. Like, how do you battle out Mario? Well, Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, and Mario Brothers that was on the Atari. Like, that could be thrown out. Like, for me, or Super Mario Brothers could be like 30 or something to start it off there. Be like, because that kind of got me into the Nintendo stuff. But then I'm just like, man, Mario 2 with that gameplay and that soundtrack and the graphics, the way that look. But then you get Mario 3 and like the Koopa Kids and like the challenges and all those different lands and ideas that they went through. And then you go to Super Mario World, Super Mario 64, Yoshi's Island, and it's just like, how do I choose this? Even though Yoshi Island ended up spinning off to its own series, but I'm just like, how do you choose it when these games were just so creative,
Mhm.
level wise and gameplay wise? Like, I to me personally, Yoshi Island has to be on my list because of the bosses themselves. Those bosses were creative and fun. I still talk about that crow, fighting that crow on the moon. Like,
Mhm.
I've never experienced any other game that did that and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, I thought for sure, like, I was thinking, I'm like, well, Zelda is a pretty easy answer for that, I felt like. But then I was like, well, there's a bunch of Fire Emblem on my list. I mean, I really love Mario Kart. Man, I just don't know. Xenoblade, like,
Right.
although, like, I don't know if Xenoblade is gonna make my list. I was thinking about it, but like, there are too many other games that, like, if we were doing a top 50, it would definitely make my list. But like,
hmm
that might be like a end of the list slash let's cut it. you know.
Right. I think that when it comes to the JRPGs and stuff, you know, I don't think Fire Emblem would be on my list.
hmm
I don't think Final Fantasy would be on my list. Um,
Yeah, I don't think any of them. Well, shoot, actually, it's technically on a Nintendo console now.
well,
Like
yeah,
Final Fantasy X is like one of my favorite games of all time, and it's on Switch.
nine. I just picked up nine on. Well, I know I have
I
nine on
didn't
Switch.
I didn't play it there, but I mean, does that count though? I mean, does
I
that
mean,
count?
it counts. It's on the Nintendo console.
Man, I'm just like, I'm trying to like balance it because like technically I love Kingdom Hearts also, and technically that's on
hmm
Switch, but like I don't know if I would put it on my list because it's the cloud version and that version is
Well,
bad. You know what I mean?
so I think Kingdom Hearts wouldn't be on my list, and I think it's because of
The best ones
the
are all on PlayStation.
well, yeah. I think it's because of the treatment of that series. And I feel like I think sometimes when I feel like a company, if they're confusing me, or when it feels like stuff feels like a cash grab,
hmm
I kind of feel like I start to get disinterested in it, and I kind of like start pushing away. Don't get me wrong. I think Kingdom Hearts 1 is still like probably the best out of the whole series. 2 is good, but I just don't like how there's so much that Square Enix tried to do to make money off of that series. Like, oh, we'll do the main games for PlayStation because maybe that's our contract. But then we'll do like 17 different side games until the balance out the story and this on Nintendo stuff. And it's just like, wait a minute, it's why for some unknown reason. I think that was the time when Square Enix and Nintendo were trying to make or like made up, and Square Enix started trying to bring some of their titles and games over to the system.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. Man, there's actually going to be a little. I think there's going to be a lot of GameCube games on my list.
Well, GameCube had so much goodness going for it.
I mean, you look at like Luigi's Mansion, Pikmin, Metroid Prime, Fire Emblem: Path of Radiance, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Double Dash. Everybody loves. They had a lot of Mario sports games like Strikers and Sluggers, and they have the best Mario Golf game. It has, arguably,
Smash Brothers Melee.
yeah, that's
Everybody
what I was
still
going to
play
say.
that game.
Arguably the best Smash game. I couldn't think of it. And then it has like the Resident Evil remake, which everybody loved, and
Yeah. Resident Evil 4.
yeah,
Like, dude, Tales of for me,
yeah,
Tales of
Tales
Symphonia. like that was Skies of Arcadia. Like Skies of Arcadia I could not find on Dreamcast, so when I played it, Skies of Arcadia Legends on GameCube, I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so good.
Man, I would love a Dreamcast collection of game, like Sonic. Like, I mean, not to like side tangent or anything. I think we need to do another episode on Dreamcast at some point. But like, you think of it like Crazy Taxi, Skies of Arcadia, Shenmue, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Monkey Ball, Soul Calibur, like Marvel vs. Capcom. You think of all these great games on the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast was so good.
Yeah.
And like, oh my gosh, I remember when I got my Dreamcast, and it was just the best day ever.
It is.
But I was such a Sega fan back then. Like I had loved Sega. I hated the Saturn, but I loved my Genesis and Nomad and Game Gear and Dreamcast. Like, I loved those systems, and like I didn't like the Saturn because like it was like my first experience with like a memory unit, right? And like you had to have that big honking cartridge in the back to save your games, and I didn't understand because like my Nintendo 64, you could just plug it in and worked, and like I think the only game I had that needed a memory card was Tony Hawk. So like I just didn't understand. I couldn't wrap my mind around that you needed a memory unit, right?
Yes.
Until I got Tony Hawk for N64, and then I think I asked a guy at FuncoLand why I couldn't save my game on on the cartridge, and he had to explain to me what a memory unit was, which was like really embarrassing at like 13 or 14 years old. Like, why can't I save my game? But then like the Dreamcast had the VMUs, right? And I played the crap out of like the Chow mini game from Sonic Adventure, and I remember you could call your plays on the VMU for NFL 2K, and like I remember my cousin and I were like laughing hysterically at Blue Stinger, which was that terrible Sega Resident Evil ripoff. And I will say this: everybody go watch the Game Informer Super Replay of Blue Stinger. It is hilarious, and that game is just a classic stinker, but it is so good. Yeah. It's also hilarious that like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like in Blue Stinger, like the best weapon in the game is like the second weapon you get in the entire game, which is the emergency axe. Because it has range and it keeps them away. It has a really cool combo, like baseball swing. Oh, Choo Choo Rocket on Dreamcast also was really good.
Yeah, I played that as a demo.
Dude, Dreamcast is so good. Can we start a Sega podcast?
Shoot. I think a lot of people would join. Like a lot of people have been talking about Sega. I'm like, we've been, of course, definitely we talked about it,
Yeah.
but I'm just like,
Well,
going back to Dreamcast, it was the true arcade machine, console, because like the games that you mentioned was good, but man, I learned Street Fighter Third Strike on Dreamcast before I learned it in the arcade. Before I carried my skill over from Dreamcast to the arcade. Like Akuma was my main, in it, and it's just like I studied that game, and I couldn't believe that this was a console that was truly arcade perfect because of the Naomi board and stuff, and seeing just like Capcom put their games on it, I was just like, I'm not going to get this experience anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember it was such a big deal that, it was the arcade machine, but it was also the first console release of Half-Life.
Yeah.
Remember? And that was like a huge deal. Like Half-Life was a big deal back then.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know if I don't remember if Half-Life ever came out, but it was announced and it was such a huge deal. I think it actually did come out.
It may have.
It did come out. It's $25 on eBay.
Oh.
And I remember it was a big deal because Sierra published it on Dreamcast and not Valve, because Valve wasn't publishing games at the time because they were Valve. They weren't Steam yet, right? They weren't making $6 billion. They were making Half-Life, and what was the other game they had at that time? Like probably the first version of Counter-Strike at some point or something.
I think so.
So
I wonder, how did Steam ever come about from Valve?
I don't know. I'm not the PC guy. That's something you're going to have to ask Laurent. I don't know. But yeah, I just remember like Half-Life was a big deal. So I think Steam came about because they wanted a storefront for Half-Life, and like they just, I don't know. It has something to do with Half-Life, but I don't remember.
Because I remember, and I think I still own it, but I remember playing Half-Life 2 on Xbox.
Yeah.
Like, there's two games that I own from Valve, and that's Half-Life 2 and Portal 2 on PS3. Like, those are the only two that I own actually from Valve and stuff. And it's weird because I played Half-Life 2, and I know that it was such a big deal, but I don't think Half-Life 2 was good at all.
I've never
really
played it, so
janky.
I can't tell you. I've never played it, but from what I've seen, it does not look like it's one of those games. It had to have been a game that, like, when it came out, you had to play it when it came out, right? It's the Final Fantasy VII Ocarina of Time conundrum, right? Where like it was such a time and place game and so important to that specific moment in history, but like you go back and play those games, they're not exactly, perfect 10s.
Yes.
Although some people would still argue the Ocarina of Time is still a perfect 10, but I will politely disagree with those people. And I can hear Stephanie just falling backwards hearing that. I can feel her eyes rolling so far back she probably choked on them.
Oh, but wow.
That's anyways. Here's the thing, though. If my Nintendo 64 controller gets here, I will play Ocarina of Time for the first time since it came out when I get my Nintendo 64 controller.
I feel like I want to watch. I want to see you play.
Here's the thing. I've tried so many times to get back into Ocarina of Time, and I always get into it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play it. I get through the Great Deku Tree. I run out into Hyrule Field, and then I just stop. I just stop playing.
You got to continue. You got to go
I know,
forward.
but like that's as far as I get every time. I'm like, I kill the Great Deku Tree. Straight up murder him because I killed the monster in the basement.
Yeah.
And then I go out to Hyrule Field and I'm like, wow, it's so empty. And then I just stop playing. So
No, I would have to see it through. I was supposed to start Majora's Mask. That's what I need to start.
yeah, I'll probably play them back to back.
Yeah, I, man, I think for my list, like I said, it's gonna be between Mario and Zelda. But like one-off games like Kid Icarus, like that would probably be on my list. Um, but placing it, I would have to figure out where I would place it because there are, I think with the NES, there's so many one-off games, like Wrecking Crew, um, uh, that I played that I was just like, okay, this is cool, but is it really like on the level of like Duck Hunt or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, or even like Kung Fu, which was Data East game that Miyamoto program. Like, yeah, I played this beat 'em up game, but it was only 5 levels and it just repeated and everything. So, and it kind of gets annoying with this one soundtrack and sound effects every time you punch or kick and stuff. And I was like, no, this wouldn't be on it. Even though for some people it's a classic, I'm just like, nah, this just doesn't do it for me. You know, games like Renegade and stuff like that was a different kind of beat 'em up, and that was hard. But do I put like Double Dragon on there or Double
No.
Dragon 2?
No.
You know, it's
No. If you put Double Dragon on your list, you're fired. That game sucks on NES.
but I played it, and
I know. I'm just messing with you, but seriously, that game sucks on the NES. That game is so bad.
it was very weird. Because I feel like the Master System version is better than the NES version, and that's odd.
I mean, that's probably a fair assessment. I'm looking at Nintendo 64 games. I kind of think that Nintendo 64 is going to have the most games on my list. I forgot how much came out on the Nintendo 64 that I absolutely loved. You know, Mario 64, both Zelda games, 007, Diddy Kong Racing, Banjo 1 and 2, Pokemon Snap. Not that Pokemon Snap would be on my list, but Star Fox 64, Conquer, F-Zero, Rogue Squadron, Turok, Mario Golf, Yoshi's Story, which I know people have mixed opinions about, but I liked it, so whatever.
Yeah.
Shadows of the Empire, Rayman 2, Beetle Adventure Racing, Tony Hawk 1 and 2, right? Like there's so many good games. Pokemon Puzzle League, right? Like there's so many great games on the Nintendo 64 that I loved. Like Excitebike 64 I played a lot for some reason.
I beat Resident Evil 2 on the N64.
Yeah. Jet Force Gemini, Blast Corps, Wave Race, 1080 Snowboarding.
Yep. 1080.
Pilot Wings, which was terrible, but I still played. The first 3 Mario Party games. Dude, I played so much on the Nintendo 64. Paper Mario.
I think Mario Party 4 is the best on GameCube.
So yeah, there's a lot there's a lot on this system that I played and loved, and man,
and I think that's what's going to make our list kind of hard, because just like where do you play? Like you probably know the games that you wanted to put on the list, but where do you place them?
Yeah,
and stuff, and it's just. I feel like sometimes there are games that's not better than the other. It's just placing them because you feel like this game has earned this spot. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so
I
mean, there's a lot of games. We could probably do like a top 100 and still not place all of our favorite games on here, right? But
right.
You know, I actually have a pretty decent idea of at least my top 10 now, like as we've been talking. But there's still like, you know, how do you order them? What's going to get cut? You know, I gotta look up DS and 3DS games because I don't know how much is actually going to be on my list from these consoles.
I think I could. I definitely could.
Oh God, I forgot. Never mind. I know what DS game is making my list.
Fire Emblem's Awakening.
Nope. DS, not
Really?
3DS. DS, not 3DS.
I thought you said 3DS. Oh, okay.
No, it's gonna surprise you, but it was my favorite game in this series until one of the most recent ones, and so
Okay.
I'm just man. DS had a lot of games.
Yeah. And like Game Boy Advance, like for me, man, I know that Metroid Zero Mission is going on there. Where I was going to place it at, that's going to be the thing because, goodness, I didn't think, man, Metroid Zero Mission on how good that game is. I'm like, wow, I didn't really pay attention to games like remakes of games. Like even when Super Mario Brothers All Stars came out, like I didn't pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, oh, okay, they got new graphics, but it was just like that same gameplay, but there's more detail in the background. Like I took notice of it, but I didn't like really, I guess, appreciate it or anything. I just thought it was something cool.
Yeah.
The weirdest kind of remastered I still feel is the Ninja Gaiden trilogy on Super Nintendo, where it's still the NES graphics, but the soundtrack is more clean, and it has that Super Nintendo sound, and it sounds weird, like it don't mesh together. It's so weird.
Yeah. I'm looking at GBA games right now, and I'm looking at them. I don't really know what I've seen like one game on here that I would put on there. I didn't play a lot of Game Boy Advance. I loved my Game Boy Advance, and I played a lot of what I had. I still think it's my favorite handheld at this point, but like, well, I guess the 3DS is pretty cool too, but I don't really know how much Game Boy Advance is going to make my list either.
Well, shoot, I played Final Fight Guy, or Final Fight. Yeah, I think it's Final Fight Guy or Final Fight Zero, Final Fight 1, something on the Game Boy Advance, and I remember playing Ghouls and Ghosts on it because Final Fight 1 on Game Boy Advance, I think they had all 3 characters you could choose from, but it was like I think it was like only one player or something.
Yeah. I wish I would have played some of these Game Boy Advance games though, because I mean I just didn't know at the time, right? I think I'm gonna ruin the list now, but like I actually think this is the best version of Super Mario 2. Is that Super Mario Brothers Advance, that first one? That remaster of Mario 2. That version is awesome.
I've never played it.
Oh man, dude, it's so good. It's like, imagine if they remastered the Mario All-Stars version of Mario 2 and like made it feel really good. It's awesome. I bet that's one, like when Game Boy and Game Boy Advance stuff eventually comes to Switch Online, like that's you gotta play. We gotta play that. We have to play that.
I will. I'll play it. I didn't play none of the Castlevania games on Game Boy Advance.
I mean, I heard those are like, if you want Symphony of the Night sequels, those are the best ones to play.
Yeah, and I do got the Castlevania Advance collection on Xbox. It was on sale for $15.
Yeah, it's on sale right now on Switch. I think for $15 or $17 or something.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's on my wish list. I just try not to spend more money.
Oh, I hear that. Or to spend the Nintendo coins to drop the price.
Although I did buy something for $5 yesterday. It was Dungeon something. Forget what it was called. It looks like it's like a puzzle. It looks like a top-down Zelda game, but also it's like a puzzle game. It's more puzzle than Zelda. Hold on, let me find it. I will find it.
I'm already on the eShop.
It's
Is it like a recent release?
Dungeons of Dreadlock. So yeah, it's like a puzzle game. It was $5 yesterday, so I got it. But other than that, like I'm trying not to spend because like I still have Fire Emblem and Xenoblade in June and July, so I'm trying to like lay low until then. I don't think I'm gonna get Mario Strikers right away, but mostly because I would say I'll play it and then I just won't because I never do. So
Understandable. $5 is not that bad.
So
I mean, it's all set for a week.
I honestly think Wii U and Nintendo 64 are going to top my list as much as I would like to say the GameCube is. But man, the Wii U, dude, Mario Kart 8, three great Zelda games: Xenoblade Chronicles X, Mario 3D World, Captain Toad, Pikmin 3, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Batman Arkham, Assassin's Creed 4, my favorite Assassin's Creed.
We literally could watch our Nintendo episode of the Wii U game.
I think for expansion pass we gotta do these lists again after episode 300. We are going to do these lists again for expansion pass. We're gonna go. We should go console. We should probably do like console by console at some point. Kind of like for standard def that we're doing the ranking Nintendo stuff, which we need to put another one of those on the books for Super Nintendo. Yes, I
gotta get that one together.
But yeah, man, that's gonna be. I love the Wii U, dude. The Wii U's the best. It's the best.
That ranking, that list one. Of course, ours was like almost the same, but it was just like for a system that people were saying it didn't have games, and some people were clowning and stuff. People are still asking for that system and still going back playing games on that system. Like I don't know if it's just me and my circle of friends or anything, and outside of Boss Rush, but it's just like people have been revisiting Wii U. Like they're playing Xenoblade,
it's just like
and Mario and like all of that.
It's just like every Nintendo console. Like everybody. I mean, you look at the GameCube, and nobody bought it. And then when the Wii came out, everybody was looking for GameCubes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that the Switch is out, everybody's looking for a Wii U, right? Like, and it happens every console. It just happens.
Do you think it's a gaming community of that time?
I don't know.
Because it's just like it feels like there's a shift in the community when new systems come out, where it's just like stuff that people miss or that they laughed at and thought it was terrible or whatever. Some form of interest come in, and then they go back and somehow get a way to play it and be like, man, I was really unfair to this game and to the system until I actually played it and stuff.
I'm trying to find that original episode that we did for that to see how many.
Because I think it was the top 25 Wii U games.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it because, oh gosh, remember the movie commentaries we did?
Ooh, yeah.
I'm on the Nerds Gone Rogue channel.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to find. Did we not have a Power Block playlist on this?
We should have.
I swear we did.
Unless you moved it from that to Boss Rush.
I mean, we had. I mean, the Boss Rush. The Boss Rush channel used to be the Nintendo Power Block channel. I just changed the name.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, my Destiny beta videos are still on here. Man, dude, we used to do so much.
Yeah. I was actually going through optional and listening to our Destiny talk, our EA discussion, man, for E3. When it was just like, hey, hey EA, how do you do? And just looking at what they showed one previous year, and then looking at their like those games that came out and look how they got reviewed and scored and stuff, and just talking about them, like wow, like that was a good, interesting talk, and then definitely the Roller Coaster Tycoon one.
Mhm. Yeah, I just, oh man, PAX videos are on here.
Oh, when you went to PAX,
Yeah,
yeah.
my Dead Cells off-screen footage had almost 7,000 views. My Dark Souls remastered for Switch had over 1,000 views. State of Decay off-screen footage had over 1,000 views. Code Vein had 1,000. God, dude, we were doing some work for them when we were there. Our Ninja Turtles commentaries have over 2,000 views.
That one was fun. I was watching that one. Definitely when the part when the lady was outside watching the TV and it got stolen. We was like, wait, what?
Man, we did some cool stuff.
We did.
No, then that's not it. Is it on the DNA page then?
I don't think so.
I mean, some of that stuff, because I remember I moved some of the PAL Block stuff over.
I know this is ruining stuff for everybody watching
It's
Expansion
fine.
Pass,
Look,
listening.
this is what they get. If they don't want to listen, they can turn it off. Just kidding. Please don't turn it off.
Don't turn it off.
Where is the? Why is? I'm really confused. I thought.
Okay, classic content, Nintendo Power Block episode 13, the top 25 Wii U games, Boss Rush Network.
Yeah, I know it's there, but the original video. Hold on, I'm gonna find it. Okay. There it is, on the Wii U. Okay, yeah, it didn't. It didn't do
original.
as well as I thought. That's fine.
Original post, January 2nd, 2017. Network, the Digital Nerds Advocate.
Yeah. So.
And that was a 2-hour episode.
I mean, that was not. It's not any different than what we do now, or what we would do if we didn't have leashes on us. Let's be honest, dude. Our episodes would be 2 or 3 hours long if we didn't have to consider other people.
Yes.
And how they don't want to sit here for 2 hours, 3 hours and talk. We would, dude. If I know we need to wrap up, but if we were doing this all over again and it was just me and you or whatever, like PAL Block would totally be a giant bombcast sacred symbol style show where we'd talk for like 3 or 4 hours. You know, You know that would be us just screwing around for 4 hours.
It didn't be like, dang, what did we talk about again?
Yeah. So I still want to do that, but
I love the show.
All right, let's get out of here. It's almost 12:30.
Well, everybody, that's gonna be it for Nintendo Expansion Pass. Corey, thank you. This was a fun, laid back, unplanned episode.
I know we should do this more often.
Don't we do it often enough?
No, we need to do it more often.
Do it more often. Okay. Well, where can people find you, Corey?
You can find me at I am Corey HG on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast. You can find me on Nintendo PAL Block. You can find me on Standard Def. And if you're in the Destiny, I do a Destiny show called Tower Casuals. You can listen to that as well.
All right, and you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at that Virtual Code. You can check out more Nintendo information on Nintendo Power Block on Mondays. If you miss it live, you can catch it on Wednesdays and on your podcast of choice. Join us on our Discord at Boss Rush Network. And check us out at bossrush.net. Come join the community, read our reviews,
We're looking
news
for writers,
stories.
so
Man,
get in touch with David or Dan as well.
Yes. Yes. And with that, everybody, we are going to head out and we want you guys to have a great week, have a great weekend, whenever you check this out. And we will see you next time on Nintendo Expansion Pass. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.